Here is the information about your graffiti project. You are going to graph a 5-letter word and the last 5 letters of the alphabet on a piece of graph paper. So for example, here are some that my students have done in the past. This one says peace. At the bottom you can see the alphabet. This one has fruit on it, and then there's the alphabet down there. Here's Luigi and the part of the alphabet. Here's one that says Aggie, the best project ever, an alphabet at the bottom. And here's a couple more examples as well. So you can see, graph the words, graph the alphabet. Some of them drew some pictures on there to add color. You do have to have color of some sort. You don't have to draw as long as you have some sort of color. So with your highlighter, I want you to go to the directions. Step 1 says write a 5-letter word. You are choosing a 5-letter word, not a 4-letter word, not a 6-letter word. That is school appropriate. And you're going to graph it on the x-axis of the graph paper, and the paper is turned horizontal. This should be in uppercase letters, and I don't want them touching. There should be 1 space between them, 2 spaces between them. Then you need to number your x and y axis. And then underneath that, you're going to graph the last 5 letters of the alphabet, V, W, X, Y, and Z. And then you need to highlight these lines must be diagonal. Each letter needs to be at least 6 units tall and 3 units wide. Can be bigger, but not smaller. And your graph has to be created by hand, and it needs to be in color. So I just made one today. So here's my example. On this example, I have 2 coordinate planes, here and here, and then I have graphed my 5-letter word. I did swing on the top, and at the bottom I did V, W, X, Y, and Z. And you can see that all of my letters have diagonals in them. Do not make them box letters, they need to be diagonal. At the top you can have both. Then step 2 says each letter needs to be labeled as A, B, C, etc. So each line needs to be labeled. So if you look at my example, I labeled it A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, and so on. Each line is labeled. Then at the bottom, when I got to Z, now I have A, B, B, C, C, D, D, E, E, and so on. That's just to help us. And then on a separate sheet of paper, you're going to create a chart page, and then you're going to write your line, your equation, domain, and range. Step 4 says complete the chart by writing equations, highlight in slope-intercept form. And then we need to put a note on here, somewhere towards the top. Put M equals. M can be a fraction, a decimal, a whole number. M cannot be a fraction with a decimal. Instead, I want you to divide that into a decimal. You may get some funky slopes on this. If you'll take that note and put an arrow to slope-intercept form down here. The other thing I want you to highlight is your work needs to be shown on the work page. If you don't have work, you don't get credit. The last thing we're going to highlight on step 5 is no late projects will be accepted. This is a high school course. We follow high school rules. It's either turned in or it's a 0. So if you'll flip your paper over, this is how you're going to set your project up. So this is what your graph paper is going to look like. You're going to have 2 sets of graphs on here. Graph your word, graph your word. Then you're going to set up a chart page. You're going to label line A, B, C, D, E. That way I can go look at it and check it. You're going to put your equation, put your domain, and your range, and then you're going to have a separate sheet of paper that has your work on it. Now you may need more than 1 piece of paper for your chart page. You're probably going to need more than 1 piece of paper for your work page. These can be typed. Your work needs to be written by hand, and your graphs need to be done by hand. But your chart can be typed, and you can fill it in by hand, or you can type the whole thing up. So I have an example to show you. This is a former student's paper. She graphed the word serve on hers, and then below that she's got the alphabet. You can see that she used some color in here. She labeled her lines A, B, C, D, E, and so on. Then here's her chart page. She has line A, B, C, D, E, F also on. Here's her equations, here's her domain, and here's her range. So you can see down the page, she's got her equations, her domain, and range. Hers went on to a second page, so here's the rest of hers. Then she has her work page. If I can't see your work, you're not getting credit. More work. And her rubric is attached. She made a 100 on hers. Okay? Here's another student. Here's her graph. She colored it. She typed her chart page up and then filled it in. And there's some more. Here's her work. And everything's there. She made a 100 as well. Okay? You need to make sure, look at the front of your rubric. This is breaking it down. Your letters are worth 9 points apiece. These are worth 10 points apiece. If you turn it in by November 21st, which is the Friday before Thanksgiving, you get 5 bonus points. It is due December 2nd, which is the Tuesday after Thanksgiving break. You need to make sure it is turned in or you are getting a 0.